Today's topic is KSHANA SAMPATHTHI. KSHANA SAMPATHTHI is two terms. One term is KSHANA, the other term is SAMPATHTHI. These are two Pali terms. KSHANA, I could explain it as the KSHANA, or in Sinhalese it's the KSHANaya. It's the tiniest portion of time, KSHANaya. Sampatthi is it's a Pali word, but the Sinhala meaning is again the same, Sampatthi. Sampatthi means something, Sampatthi is an asset or something which has a demand. So if something is found plenty and no one cares for it, it wouldn't be an asset. So Sampatthi means asset. So thereby KSHANA Sampatthi means asset of the moment. So you might wonder what this is, asset of the moment. So a moment is the tiniest portion of time, I said. So how could it be the having such a demand or such a people looking for it? So in order to explain this, I would like to quote a Gatha from Buddhism. It's the famous Gatha, the Bhikkave Appamadena Sampadeta Durlabo Buddhutpado Lokasmi Durlabo Manusatta Patilabo Durlaba Kana Sampatti Durlaba Pabbaja Durlabang Saddhamma Savana. So in this, I'll explain. The first line is the most important thing. Bhikkave Appamadena Sampadeta. This is in fact the last words of Buddha to the general public. Appamadena Sampadeta. Sampadeta, Pali word Sampadeta is English meaning would be like work hard or thrive hard. Sampadeta. To Sampadeta, work hard to do what? It is Appamadena, to be in Appamado. Work hard, thrive hard to be in Appamado. Now, Appamada is a Pali word. I'll explain. The single equivalent of it is Apramada. So, opposite of Apramada is Pramada. And what does Pramada mean? Pramada means delay or parakui, delay or lapse or absence. Pramada means delay, lapse or absence. So, Apramada, therefore, Apramada becomes non-absence, non-delay, like that. Non-absence. I'll emphasize the word non-absence. Non-absence of what? Non-absence of Sati Sampajana. Non-absence of Sati Sampajana, that's what Lord Buddha wanted us to. That was his last advice. So, right? So, work hard to be in non-absence of Sati Sampajana. Now again, Sati Sampajana is again two Pali words, but I'll explain. Sati is mindfulness and Sampajana is clear comprehension. And Sampajana could be stated as a level which one could achieve after being in Sati or establishing Sati in full scale. It's a higher stage of Sati, I'll say, Sampajana. So we'll leave Sampajana out leave it out for the moment. We'll concentrate on Sati. Sati is mindfulness. Mindfulness, it comes to my mind, this Venerable Henegama Gunaratana Thero of West Virginia Temple. He has written a very interesting book called Mindfulness in Simple English, or Mindfulness in Plain English. You could get that book. It's a wisdom publication. It's well worth reading it. Mindfulness in Plain English. In that, he explains mindfulness as he defines it as non-judgmental observation. I repeat, mindfulness is non-judgmental observation. That is, you're observing it, but you don't get into judgments, where you don't think of whether it is good or bad or nice or ugly or any of these descriptions. You're just observing. And to mindfulness, some of these the Theravada monks in Thailand, they used to explain it as knowing only. That is, you are knowing it, whatever that is happening, but you don't judge whether it's knowing only. And it also could be referred as, even Venerable Henegama Gunaratana Thero explains it, he gives different meanings to sati, and one such is bare attention. That is, you are attentive, but very bare, slightly. Or another definition would be something like superficial awareness. Sati is superficial awareness. That is, you are aware of it, but very superficial, on surface. Or it could be referred to as unbiased observation. Another definition. Another definition would be something like impartial observation. Or another definition would be like present time observation. Now, this is very interesting. I don't know whether I'm deviating from the topic, but I'll get back to this Gatha. But just before that, I'll say about this should be mentioned, because present time observation, now observing it at the present time or being at the present moment, it's a difficult thing, because the moments go like this. So just a moment before it was anagata, and then this moment is pachupanna, and then the next moment is atita. So it's like anagata, pachupanna, atita, or it's a future, present, past. So the moments go like this. So to be in the present moment, that is what sati is all about. So I'll leave it at that at the moment and get back to this Gatha. So, Bhikkhave appamadena sampadeta, first line I explained. Second line is Durlabo buddhutpado lokasmi. That means Buddha being born, the Buddha being born is a rare thing. It's a durlaba. It's a rare thing, durlabo. Durlabo buddhutpado lokasmi. Buddha being born in this world is a rare event. Okay. Next, third line, Durlabo manusatta patilabo. That means for someone to be born as a human being in this world is a rare event. That's the third line. Fourth line, Durlaba Kana Sampatthi. So Kana Sampatthi is the meaning, the topic of the day, Shana Sampatthi in Pali, Shana Sampatthi in Sinhala or Tamil, Sinhala or Sanskrit. Shana is actually a Sanskrit word, Shana. So it was being brought to Sinhala as Shanaya. So Sampatthi, as I explained. So in Pali, it's referred to as Kana Sampatthi. So Durlaba Kana Sampatthi. So I'll say the being in Shana Sampatthi is also a very rare thing. Okay. Fifth line, Durlaba Pabbajja. Pabbajja is being a hermit or a clergy or a Buddhist monk or a monk is a rare event. Durlaba Pabbajja. Then the last line is Durlabang Saddhamma Samana. For someone to listen to Buddha Dhamma, it's a rare event. So, all in all these 6 lines, I'll repeat, Bhikkhave appamadena sampadeta, Durlabo buddhutpado lokasmin, Durlabo manusatta patilabo, Durlabo kana sampatti, Durlaba pabbajja, Durlaban saddhamma samana. All these are rare events and work hard to be in sati. That's what it all means. So now, if I put it more mathematically, take the second line, some Durlabo buddhutpado lokasmin, Buddha being born as a Buddha being born in this world is a rare event. So I don't know, Buddha being born is a one in a kalpa, or I don't know for kalpa how many digits are there for a kalpa, but for easy calculation, let's take it as 1 in 50,000 years a Buddha is born. So for a Buddha to be born in this particular year, it's like 1 over 50,000, 1 upon 50,000. It's a rare probability. Okay. Then say for example, 1 over 50,000, that's a probability. Durlabo manusatta patilabo. For someone to be born as a human being is a rare event, because you could be, in Buddhist we believe we could be born as an animal or a insect or whatever, reptile or whatever in the next birth. So for someone to be born as a human being, for someone to be born as a human being is a rare event. So let's say the same probability, 1 over 50,000 for someone to be born as a human being. So right. So now for someone to be born as a human being while a Buddha is being born, is available, is multiple of probabilities. For someone to be born as a human being during the time a Buddha is born, so it's multiple of probabilities. So it's like 1 over 50,000 times 1 over 50,000. Yeah. And then next line, Durlabha KSHANA SAMPATHTI. So that means if I take the same probability to have KSHANA SAMPATHTI, that's another similar probability, 1 over 50,000. Then Durlabha Pabbaja, that is for someone to be born as a monk or a clergy or a hermit, it's will take the same probability, 1 over 50,000. And then Durlabha Saddhamma Savana, that is the opportunity for someone to listen to Buddha Dhamma, is very rare in this world, because if one is born as a born in a country like Argentina or whatever the country, South Africa or whatever, you won't be so able to listen to Buddha Dhamma. So it's a rare event. So we'll say 1 over 50,000. So all these happens to happen even though Buddha is not born this time. Buddha Dhamma is available. So for someone to be born as a human being and to take up robes and all that, so it's a multiple of probabilities. So what Buddha is trying to say is, if you get this opportunity to be a human being, it's a very rare event, and for someone and to get the best use of it and be in sati, that's what it all means. But I have to add that some people, now let's get on to this topic, KSHANA SAMPATHTI, that's today's topic. Some people were of the opinion that KSHANA SAMPATHTI is something where to be born as a normal human being without any deformity. But that cannot be, because it cannot be said as a asset of the moment of KSHANA SAMPATHTI, because even in the third line, Durlabho Manusatta Patilabho, to be born as a human being, is covered as to be born as a normal human being, so that without any deformity is included in it. So it's a wrong idea that KSHANA SAMPATHTI means to be born as a human being without any handicap or deformity, but it has a very much broader and deeper meaning. Now let's get on to that deeper meaning. I said KSHANA. Let's get on to the word KSHANA. KSHANA is the tiniest portion of time. That is, when you take the time interval, big time span, and make it to 1 hour slabs. You can make it, slice it to 1 hour slabs, and take that 1 hour slab and slice it into 60 equal parts. Then it becomes 1 minute. And take that 1 minute and thin slice it to another 60 equal parts. Then it becomes a second. So KSHANA in the usual practice is like somebody says it's the time taken for a blinking of an eyelid. So it's so small. But the concept of time came as with respect to the pendulum of the clock. Pendulum moves from one end to the other end and comes back. So it's how many, so during such time, how many such blinks are there? So you can work out the percentage or the fraction of what the time allocation is for a KSHANA. So that's just in the usual standard form. Kshana is defined that way. But Kshana in Buddha Dhamma is quite different. Kshana in Buddha Dhamma is Kshana is the same as I have heard in old Indian culture. They have defined Kshana as in what I am going to say. Or even in the Veda, I was told that it's this particular definition which I am going to come out with. So in Buddha Dhamma, Kshana is the time interval between two thoughts is Kshana. That means there are two thoughts. So first thought, there's a start of the first thought, end of the first thought. Then there's the start of the second thought, end of the second thought. So Kshana is defined as the time interval between two thoughts. That is, time interval elapsed between the end of the first thought and the start of the second thought. That empty time interval is defined as Kshana in Buddha Dhamma. So empty time interval, that no mind state is defined as Kshana. In reality, for an ordinary Putakjana or the ordinary mundane person, your eyes, ears all open, so you see things, hear noises, all that. So I can see this, and I can see this, I can see that. So in each of these, you develop thoughts. So the time interval between two thoughts is very, very small, insignificantly small in the case of an ordinary person. It is equivalent to something like, if I give you an analogy, it's like if you take a big dictionary of 1,000 pages and keep it at a distant place, what happens? It looks like a big solid block to you from distance. But between any two pages of this dictionary, there's a tiny space, say delta t, where t is the thickness between two pages. However small that is significant, and you could turn the pages because there's an empty space between two pages. Likewise, between any two thoughts of a mundane person, however small that is, there's a space, right? There's a space. That space is Kshana. That space is defined as Kshana, and it becomes a Sampatthti because it becomes a Sampatthti, or the asset, because the Nirvana is in that. Nirvana is within that tiny space. That's what the people who had done Vipassana Bhavana, or a Bhavana Yogi, or Arahat, or Buddha would have the no mind state. That time between two thoughts is quite significantly large, because the Bhavana yogis always concentrate on the start of the thought and the end of the thought. So that's the place to explore. That's what essentially it means. But for someone to be in this, to get to this, it's not easy. You have to be, to explore this, you have to be in appamado. You have to be in non-absence of sati, non-absence of non-judgmental observation. You have to be live at the present moment. So you have to have appamado. To be in appamado, you have to develop panya. So panya is a Pali word. Panya, the equivalent Sanskrit word is prajna. So that prajna has been translated to Sinhala, brought into Sinhala as prajnava. Prajnava means has the meaning wisdom or insight or insightful knowledge. But the true meaning of panya was given by has come out in the Milinda Nagasena discussion. So if I take time to explain what Milinda Nagasena discussion is, during King Milinda, and King Milinda was a king during the time, provincial king during the time of King Dharmashoka. That is the Dharmashoka, King Dharmashoka in India. He was known as Chandashoka, and he captured a lot of countries, like not only India, he gone into Afghanistan and captured so many, increased its kingdom and gone up to about Greece. And somewhere in Greece, there has been under the King Dharmashoka, there has been a provincial king called King Milinda. Apparently, King Milinda has been involved studying Buddha Dhamma very seriously, and he has been asking a lot of questions from the Buddhist monks in Greece at that point of time during the King Dharmashoka's time. So that is like 600 years after, 600 or 300 years after passing away of Buddha. Anyway, I'm not sure about the time period, but it's 300 or 600 or whatever period. So he has been asking questions, and what the answers given by the Buddhist monks who were there, he was not happy with. So these monks have gone to Arahat Nagasena and explained and made this discussion. That is, they have brought they have made appointments for King Milinda to meet Arahat Nagasena. So they had that's what those are called, Milinda Nagasena discussion, quite famous in Buddha Dhamma. And in this discussion, King Milinda has asked a series of questions, like long questions and short questions. And among the short questions, one of those questions is, what is Panya? So in this, what is Panya? So to that King, Arahat Nagasena has answered, it is, Panya is illumination without defilements. I repeat it, illumination without defilements. What are defilements? Defilements are lobha, dvesha, moha. So illumination without defilements. So that is one who is developed Panya is an illuminative mind without lobha, dvesha, moha. Lobha, dvesha, moha is, lobha is greed, dvesha is hatred, moha is the feeling of I and mine. So if Panya, the ideal definition would be is one who is possessing an illuminative mind without greed, hatred, and the feeling of I and mine. So in order to get Panya you can't get it. It's like Panya Udapadi. Udapadi means it pops up. Pahalavai. In Sinhalese, it's Pahalavai. Pahalavenda, you have to satisfy certain conditions. If those conditions are satisfied, this pops up. It's like a simple example of it would be something like sleep. Sleep, you can't go to a shop and say, I'll pay you money, get me half an hour of sleep. No. For sleep, there are certain conditions to be fulfilled. Then once the conditions are satisfied, the sleep happens. That is what, when you are making a little baby to sleep, where you rock him around or whatever, and then still the baby turns around, hugs a pillow or does something. And then all these are to fulfill the conditions. Once the conditions are fulfilled, he falls asleep. Likewise, there are preconditions stipulated by Lord Buddha to develop Panya. That is Arya Ashtangika Marga. You have to follow the Noble Eightfold Path. Noble, I don't want to go in detail of it, but as you all know, Noble Eightfold Path is Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi, of which I would like to just run through. Samma Ditti is the understanding of the Chaturara Satya, the Four Noble Truths, simply. And then Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa. Samma Sankappa is the correct concepts you have to have. Samma Sankappa comprises of three things. That concept of Samma Sankappa comprises of Nekkamma Sankappa, Avyapada Sankappa, Avihimsa Sankappa. So that is concept of concept of Nekkamma Sankappa is concept of letting go. You must let go of the things with Avyapada. Vyapada is hatred. So with Avyapada is non-hatred. You must let go with non-hatred and Avihimsa. Himsa is violence, so Avihimsa is non-violence. You must let go on certain issues. You have to let go with non-violence and non-hatred. That's so. This is Samma Sankappa, and that is exactly what Mahatma Gandhi did. He let go with non-violence and non-violence and non-hatred. So that's the same thing which South African leader did. South African leader who was imprisoned for 27 years, he did the same thing. He let go of the issues with non-hatred and non-violence. So anyway, coming on to of this Ashtanga Marga, the important thing is the Samma Sati. So in order to come to Sati, Sati is the mindfulness, and mindfulness, as I defined, as I stated earlier, mindfulness is the non-judgmental observation or living at the present moment. So for you have to reach that, you have to develop Satara Satipatthana. You have to establish the four foundations of mindfulness. So that's stipulated by Buddha, Lord Buddha, about this Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana. So there are 16 steps stipulated. Of the 16 steps, the first 4 steps is to of the Kayanupassana, Kaya Kayanupassi Vihati. That's the first 4. Second one is Vedana Vedananupassi Vihati. Your contemplation of the feelings. Then the third one, Chitte Chittanupassi Vihati, the contemplation of the mind, and then mind objects is the Dhammanupassana. So there are stipulated standard procedure, and this has to be followed. Once those steps were followed correctly, Panya will, Udapadi Panya will prop up, and then that's what it is. So you have to follow those steps correctly, but it is difficult to follow because you have to have a good master. So there are people who are you have to associate them as Kalyana Mittas and get proper instructions and follow. But that is difficult to find, but nevertheless they are available. So I would stop by this, coming back to the same Bhikkhave Appamadena Sampadeta. That's the first line. To be work hard, as Lord Buddha's final advice to people. Work hard, Sampadeta is work hard or thrive hard, to be in Appamada, to be in non-absence, or it is full presence, to be in full presence of Sati, the mindfulness. So I will stop by that. Thank you.
Vishvavahini.